Hey there, Dragon Folk. How are we all doing today? I hope you are doing absolutely fantastic. As per usual, I have more Flesh and Blood content for you all today. Today, we are actually going to be going over some live gameplay. Well, it was live then. It's not live now. In-person gameplay, I guess is what I meant to say. Normally, I know a lot of people do Talishar and so on and so forth, but as a current participant in the Clash Bash that is going on right now for Flesh and Blood, we do have some webcam games that I did want to go ahead and go over. There are 3 games that I have set up for this series against an individual. All of these are best of 3, so it's a best of 3 format that we're doing right now. Might change it for next season, but right now we're getting a lot of games and a lot of awesome eyes on the format itself. And so because of that, what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of go over the game itself, how it went, what I played, how my opponent played, and kind of see where I did good and where I did not do so great. We'll talk a little bit about the decks and the play style, and then kind of move on from there. So what we are doing for this first game, we're only going to do 1 game at a time, so don't worry about time slot. This game is probably the longest out of our 3, and I'm going to go ahead and get started by showing it off to you here as we move into the game itself. All right, so here we are at the game. We are on Dromai here. My opponent, Nathaniel, is on Olympia. We are going to be playing their first game here, Dromai into Warrior. It's a little bit of a contingent matchup because, especially since I'm almost certain Nathaniel's going to be on double weapons, whether it be Hot Streak or Centauri Saber, or it be double hatchet. A lot of people are running double hatchets right now in Olympia, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. And then we are just going to kind of see whether or not we can generate as much Ash. You can see from the tech that I have here, I am running Glory Seeker. Glory Seeker is probably the best tech into a budget Dromai build as of right now, because it'll net you 3 Ash at any point you want in most cases. So if you are running low on Ash, being able to generate that and still draw a card, it is very important. Let's go ahead and take a look. I went ahead and sped this game up a little bit to kind of show you guys a little bit about the general matchup, because I don't think we need to super speed through a lot of this here. But it's a little bit of a long game, but it's not exactly into a time scenario. These games are not timed, so it works out best. We are running the Sweeping Blow here, so I go ahead and play the Sweeping Blow to kind of get myself some Ash going, because I do want to generate more and more Ash as the game goes on. And Sweeping Blow does really well, being able to, you have to pitch 1 in order to play it. So its attack rate is really low because it's pitch 1 for 3, but its pitch 1 for 3 also get another Ash when it attacks. So you get 2 Ash for 1 card, well, 2 cards technically, and then you kind of get the go again from it as well. So you get to move your turn along. It doesn't have Phantasm, so it works out great. We're then going to make Kyloria because why not, right? We are playing into Warrior. Warriors don't often play a ton of poppers in many formats, but you gotta kind of have them have the answer here. And with Kyloria, you go ahead and swing into it. My opponent blocks it out instead of having a popper. Doesn't look like they had a popper, which is great. And then they're going to go ahead and draw up. I'm going to draw up, and then we're going to move on to the next turn. Now, in this situation, Kyloria, certainly I expected to die, but what you'll see here is a little bit different from what the general matchup is. You'll see I'm also showing my hand on my camera like an idiot, so don't mind that. I'm just being silly, but I did want to go ahead and show off here. The Hatchet of Body is coming in, and this is when I asked my opponent, are they attacking a dragon or myself? That is a rule into Dromai, for those of you who do not know. You need to declare your attack onto a dragon or onto Dromai. If you do not declare anything, I do believe it is usually assumed you are attacking the hero. So I'm not sure what the judge ruling is on that, but I always just give my opponent the benefit of the doubt, because some people are just not sure on what they can do. I've seen a lot of people not play into Dromai ever and not realize you could even attack the dragons. So this Hatchet of Body is actually not coming in at me. or at Kyloria, sorry. It is coming in at me. And I decide, you know what? I'm probably not going to block it because 2 damage is nothing and he has no go again as of right now. With double hatchets, you're almost certain your opponent is going to play something to give it go again. But in this situation, he actually plays up the ante. And up the ante with the 2 float he has, he goes ahead and he gives it a double wager of vigor and agility, and then also brings its attack power up to 4. So now it's coming in for 4 and on hit wager. I don't run any D-reacts in my deck, and I don't certainly have any in my hand. So that is going to be a bit of a hit for me. Their next turn is pretty well set up. They're going to go ahead and draw up, arsenal that card, and then it'll be over on my turn. Now I have a Kyloria alive, which is great. I like Kyloria being alive and not being a target of an attack. This was a great setup turn for Nathaniel, but it's also great for me because it means I get to set up more of my dragons. Here I do make my Uvia. Uvia is super great into heroes you just want to dominate with dragons, because the more dragons I can make, especially with Uvia having 6 power, Guardians don't care about Uvia, right? Obviously that doesn't matter to them. But in other heroes, Uvia is a great pick because you are able to just kind of sit there and they go, how many resources are you going to have to allocate to kill Uvia? So making the Ashwing here, I go ahead and get that all set up. Now we're going to move on to our attacks. We are going to go ahead and swing with Kyloria first, just in case they do have a popper. I'm at least still threatening something. Most people sometimes don't want to ping the Ashwing, or they'll pop the Ashwing and then swing into Kyloria. Kyloria, I would imagine, dies next turn, which is why I swung with Kyloria there. And then I go ahead and swing with an Ashwing. Ashwing is going to have a whopping 1 damage on there, not doing a whole lot in regards to its power level. And then we're not going to swing with Uvia, because if we swing with Uvia, we are going to feel bad if they do have a popper, because that's a really, really easy way to get Uvia off the board. So now moving into the next thing, our opponent's now trying to figure out what their next turn is going to be, right? Their next turn looking into, I would imagine, being killing some of these dragons. And if my dragons live this turn, it's very, very bad for Nathaniel. But he goes ahead and kills the Kyloria. It's a perfect target for Hatchet of Body to then turn on Hatchet of Mind. And now I believe my opponent has to kind of figure out what do they want to do moving in. Because if they have a Blade Runner, red, they could very well pump the Hatchet of Mind to 6 and kill Uvia. I just went ahead and threw Kyloria into the grave as a standard because it's going to die no matter what. And luckily, the thing that I have to worry, or that I don't have to worry about so much, is that when somebody attacks me with a wager, wagers don't hit on dragons. They hit on heroes only. So it is very important to note that that is the case. And that way we can go ahead and not have to worry about them getting a ton of tokens. Because if wager worked on dragons, I believe Dromai would be like a D tier hero right now compared to anything else. So going to pitch, attacking with Hatchet of Mind for 3. This is coming in at me. So they didn't pump it or anything of the sort. I'm just going to block 3 here with my blue dust up. And then we go ahead and we get to move on. I'm an idiot and I put my blue dust up in my pitch zone. It will go to the graveyard soon, I promise. I'm not a bad player. I promise it's not what it looks like. So I pitched this Phoenix Flame to come in with a Rake the Embers. Gonna go ahead and make some more ash here. I'm gonna just completely deplete my ash stores because I do really, really want to just overpower this board. If my opponent then starts to go, okay, my turn is kill Ashwings instead of attack your face, it gives me even more opportunity to continue on. So Ravenous Rabble obviously is coming in for 4. It always does. It's going to get blocked by another Sink Below. So that's both Sink Belows already out of the deck with just the first couple of turns. And then I get to swing in with my Ashwings. It will be popped by a Wage Agility. So we're going to go ahead and not see the light of day for that one. We lose an Ashwing, which is fine. Again, your warriors don't tend to have as many poppers. So if I lose it to an Ashwing, that's great. because that means that I'm not going to lose it to an Uvia, or I'm not going to lose a Yendurai or any of the sort to a Pauper. Very important. So I'm going to take here, 2 is coming into an Ashwing. It's going to get Blade Runner Red into that 6, which then, of course, is going to come into that Uvia, because why wouldn't you? It's very rare that you get to come in for 6 damage on a double weapon attack, such as Olympia does here. So getting rid of my Ashwing generator is very, very good. Not that I could make it Ashwing on my next turn anyway, but it is very important that I have it. So I'm starting my turn with 0 Ash. It's very, very bad when this happens. And I want to be able to continuously play more cards on my turn, but I don't have access to Ash, which is a feels bad overall. So what I actually am going to do here, if I recall my method correctly, is I'm probably going to just go ahead and pitch my Glory Seeker here. So at the end of my opponent's turn, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to destroy my Glory Seeker, pitching 3 reds, and then drawing a card. So that'll make me 3 Ash, which is super great, right? We'd love to see the Ash come out. And even if I start my hand with only 2 cards, if one of those cards is a 0 cost red or a 1 cost red, I still get to make Ash. I still get to do things on my turn, and that is very important. So obviously, we see that Paupers are happening, so we do want to get a Mirgai out as soon as possible. This is going to require them to do that same thing there with Hatchet of Mind, where they're going to have to buff Hatchet of Mind and to kill Kylori, or to kill Mirgai, sorry. Because Mirgai is 4 health, and Hatchet of Mind only gets buffed up to 3 by itself. So hit and runs don't really do much for Mirgai, which works out great. Now, there you go. So Mirgai attacks, and then they get to take it on a chin, which means they get to bring that agility token out. And then I'm going to swing in with my Dust Up for 4. Now, that Dust Up is also really relevant because if I get the hit, which I do, I then get to make another Ashwing. So I'm sitting at 4 dragons, easily clearable by Hatchet of Body and Hatchet of Mind. But Mirgai is going to be a problem for them, especially if they are running more and more Paupers, because Mirgai it's just great. It's a great thing because it doesn't actually matter in most cases unless I'm coming in with a huge attack. This means that Kyloria, they have to block with cards from their hand, and Kyloria is a good breakpoint. With, you know, if I end up playing a Necria, Necria is also a great breakpoint. So some damage goes through here. I take a little bit. Of course, they get the go again, so they'll go ahead and pop it in with a Hatchet of Mind. I'm debating on if I want to block here, because of course I am worried about that that respite effect, or the reprise effect, sorry. So if I block with a card from hand, it turns on reprise, which means he could buff it if he wants to and really just kind of bring down the power. But he actually upped the antes for the 2nd time that turn. So he had 1 floating, or yeah, he had 2. Yeah, he had 2 floating there. After that said and done, he got both of the wagers back, and now he wins those. As you can see here, unfortunately for Nathaniel, he is just now realizing that he won his wager and got a gold, but I actually, he didn't get a gold on the first time that he won that wager with the first up the ante. So he should be at 2 gold, but he's currently at 1. I'm then going to play Yendurai because the damage doesn't really matter to me. If I can swarm the board, I can really just kind of power through and make this happen. So Yendurai then gets to attack with no Phantasm. Again, my goal here is to just keep making dragons. My opponent seems to not care about my dragons, so I want to make it that way. That is a red that came off the top, so Ravenous Rabble is of course going to come in for 4. And we're going to see whether or not our opponent goes ahead and takes 4 more, which would be a perfect scenario for them. They're at 15, I'm at 9. So it ends up working out pretty well. I then come in with a Snatch here. Now, Snatch, really, really good. They end up blocking it out with stuff from their hand, and they get 2 agility tokens, which just doesn't matter for them at this point. I personally would have probably saved the Take It on the Chin, but I understand not wanting me to. I would have just blocked out with Gallantry Gold and Refraction Bolters there, because Snatch is a really, really powerful card. So we get a little bit of damage off, not a ton, still 14-9, and we have 5 dragons on board. My opponent only can really clear 2 of those dragons. Double agility does not make your weapons go again. So we do kind of have to just imagine that most of these are probably going to be coming into these Ashwings here to kind of clear them out. But without Miragai being a valid target, it's kind of great that we don't have to do it. My opponent is now attacking into me. This seems to be their strategy now, so I'm putting on more of a defensive style here. This is going to come in for 3, and I'm going to block this one here as well, because most of my stuff in my deck blocks for 3. So why not? If I get to just play 1 red and go off with, what is that, 3, 5, 7 damage? No, 8 damage, sorry. 8 damage on board, not including anything else I play. So then I go ahead and I swing with a Billowing Mirage. That's going to go ahead and get me another Ashwing. And now we have presenting 9 more with 3 on the chain right now. That gets blocked. Yendurai goes and attacks. Doesn't have Phantasm, so we have 3 more. My opponent takes it. We swing with an Ashwing. It gets popped. So this is why you always want to attack with an attack action first if you can, and then start attacking with your dragons, simply because you want your opponent to force out a lot of their cards from their hand. So we brought them down only a little bit, right? They did a little bit more to me than I think I would have to them, but I did block out their whole turn last turn and then came in for a whopping total of 3 pretty much. So now what we have to worry about is our opponent going to continue to attack just me? It looks like it is going to be the case. I am going to block that there. My opponent's then going to play a Blade Runner. And then they're going to swing that last Hatchet of Mind for 6. And it is going to be attacking, if I recall correctly, swings at the Miragai? No, it swings at me. So I block 5 here. My opponent then pumps it up to 9. So I'm going to take 4, go down to 5. Now, 5 is a lot. I'm not running Sigil of Solace in this build. I feel like I should, but I currently am not. The only reason I don't run Sigil is because Sigil is mainly used for a Flamescale Furnace tactic, and we don't have access to that in here. So Blaze Headlong is coming in, doesn't have Go Again, but obviously, as you can see, I do have Snapdragon Scalers up, so I'm going to try to make this a pretty large turn for me. They're going to go ahead and block that out there, take 1. I'm going to pop Snaps, and then I'm going to swing with my Yendurai for 3. I'm then going to swing with an Ashwing. And I believe we're going to get this whole line out. We're going to get another Ashwing. And then we're going to get another Ashwing. And now we are down. I've brought him under parity. Now, this could be crazy because if they're running attack actions, they may be running things like Scar for a Scar. So I may have just left them at 5. That probably should have been the better choice to make. But I really just wanted to put on the pressure, and it seemed like they weren't blocking any of them anyway. So I didn't attack with Miragai for the sake of in case he had a popper. And I did want to just keep swinging my Ashwings. But now, as you can see, like a Scar for a Scar here would be insane if my opponent ran it. Or it would be, you know, so if, let's say they're playing like a Fyendal Spring Tunic or a Fyendal's Fighting Spirit or a Wounding Blow or a Wounding Bull. I don't remember the name of the cards anymore. But my opponent does then play a blue hit and run. So they're making sure they're getting that going. Then they're killing an Ashwing. This one's coming in. Gonna go ahead and come at me. I'm gonna do my thing here, and I am going to block. Now, I'm wondering whether or not I should overblock here, because at 5, if I block 3, it could then get pumped up for, you know, possibly even 6 more if my opponent had the cards. But I am not worried about that too much. I am then going to go ahead and just continue on with my turn. I'm going to bring out Asvali. My opponent does not have any Arcane Barrier, so Asvali is immediately a better threat here. Now, if I were to change anything about my current turn, I'm going to attack with Asvali first, but I should swing with Yendurai first, because Yendurai prevents more physical damage, and then I can at least swing in with the Asvali for 1 Arcane, preventing a little bit more. Because I do want to make sure that I am getting the most value out of my first Phantasm attack. But I don't actually swing with that. I come in with a Cadaverous Contraband for 6. I'm trying to strip as many cards out of my opponent's hand as I can, and this is really kind of the way to do it. Strictly because if my opponent did have a popper, my turn pretty much would have been over. But coming in for 6 here, and on hit, I get to put something on the top of my deck. That's going to be very, very important for my game plan, especially if I'm looking to bring in more cards from my hand that block for 3. Because if I pull into a bunch of 2 blocks right now, like a Flamecall Awakening and a Blaze Headlong and a Rake the Embers, I'm not going to feel good about that. So what I end up choosing is actually going to be a Dust Up. I choose Dust Up Red because it's a great finisher if I end up attacking with a dragon with no Phantasm, and then, you know, I'm able to play a Dust Up for 4. It's a great break point. My opponent's at 1, so it's very tough choices here. I have enough Ash that I'm not worried about it. I'm still sitting at 2 Ash floating, which is great. And now all of this pressure is on my opponent to try and clear my board. Asvali being a great target because obviously if he doesn't kill Asvali this turn, he loses. So we do want to make sure that our opponent is, you know, well aware of that. I always like to make sure that I'm talking to my opponent and telling them, hey, you know, you might want to make this move instead. I'm not trying to sway them in any way, especially for like casual games, but I do want to make sure that the information on board is very clear. And so it is my 5 life to their 1 life. They have no Arcane Barrier, which means that if I attack them with Asvali, if they try to swing in at me and I full block, they don't have go again. So they would just like lose pretty much on the spot. But if I go ahead and swing with Asvali on my turn, even if it doesn't have go again, I deal 1 Arcane and I win. So they're going to go pitch the Blade Runner, swing in Hatchet of Body. That's going to kill Asvali. And then they're going to give it go again with the Refraction Bolters. Right here, I'm curious because I don't play Warrior a whole lot. I was curious whether or not it's a hit or a hero hit. It turns out it is just a hit, so you do get the Refraction Bolters trigger. They're then going to play Edge Ahead, and they are going to swing that Hatchet of Mind at my Mirror Guy here, if I recall correctly, because it's coming in for 5. If I recall. They are wagering. So it is actually at me, now that I believe. Because 5 coming at me, obviously that's lethal. And if I block out with too much, if I block out with like only enough cards to keep me alive, they could pump it with In the Swing and Iron Song Response. So they're trying to get the agility token, really trying to make me like force my hand here. But I do actually believe that I have a pretty good solid turn here. I block 6 here. And now if my opponent is going to pop anything else, an Iron Song Response brings it to 4. A double In the Swing, an In the Swing and Iron Song Response. But the Iron Song Response is not the right color, unfortunately. So I get brought down to 2. Doesn't get to pitch it just enough over. If that was a red Iron Song Response, I was dead. But not the case, apparently. So now with 2 cards in my hand, the reason I wanted to keep 2 is because I did have a Rake the Embers. If I had kept Dust Up, then I would not have been able to actually like commit to a full turn. But now with Rake the Embers, you know, I took my chance, and now I'm going to go ahead and swing in with all my stuff. Yenderai is going to come in for 3. My opponent's then going to have to block 3. And if they have a popper here, they can change the game around. Doesn't look like they do. 2nd Ashwing, 3rd Ashwing, 4th Ashwing for game. So that was it there. We are fully done with the game. That was a really, really, really good game. I had a lot of fun playing Dromai into it. If I could have changed anything, I think, again, a lot of my turns in Classic Constructed, you see a lot of Dromais just nearly not blocking when people come at you with, you know, weapon attacks. Because wagering 5 is fine. But if I didn't block 5, obviously I was dead at the end of that turn. If I had D-reacts, it would have been a little bit easier. I would have been able to set one in my arsenal and probably just wait it out until my opponent tried to over-attack react me. But In the Swing does a lot of work into that deck. And then Iron Song Response, obviously, triggers super well. I'm not sure if they are playing Take the Upper Hand, which is another 0-cost attack reaction that cares whether or not you wagered. And Olympia does like to wager, so not sure if that's the move for them. But I did really enjoy the game. I had a lot of fun with it. And I do believe that Glory Seeker is the spice for these budget games. And I do believe that Dromai has a good place into the format. I don't believe a lot of players are playing Dromai, though, in Clash, strictly because ninjas tend to be pretty popular. And I just can't, I can't do anything against ninjas. Ninjas will wipe me off the face of the map with no time at all, simply because Kodachis can kill my Ashwings. Kodachis, even if you're playing Ira, Kodachis can kill my, you know, Chromais, or yeah, my Chromais, or my my Kylorias, or my Asvalais. So it's very, very rough in most cases, but it was a good game, had a lot of fun. So make sure to, if you did like this coverage, make sure to like this video, because I do want to make sure that you guys are actually enjoying them. You can also subscribe to the channel for more Clash webcam games that we hope to have set up sometime in the near future. I have 2 more games with Nathaniel that I do end up wanting to get voiced over and set up for you guys. So I hope you guys will enjoy that. And make sure to let me know in the comments down below what you would like to see in Clash. Maybe you guys want to play some games. I am live every Thursday if I can help it. So if you guys want to do some stuff on Thursday, we can always go ahead and play games there. And you can also become a channel member if you want to support the channel in a more financial sense. It always helps us out a lot here, you know, taking the time to edit and to get the games going and so on and so forth. Anything to help pay the bills is always appreciative. So thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate your support like nothing else. And I'll see you all in the next video. Nerd out.